welcome everyone to the 2025 State of the City program for Lakeville, Minnesota. My name is Matt Skopp. I'm an attorney with Doherty Melinda, and I'm this year's chair of the Chamber Board of Directors, and honored to serve in that capacity. So the annual State of the City program is an important part of the Chamber's work in advocacy and access. This is your opportunity to meet, hear from, and ask questions directly to the people who are leading and guiding our city. So we're excited to welcome and hear from both Mayor Luke Hellier and Community Development Director Tina Goodroad today. Tina has been with the City of Lakeville since the summer of 2022 and brought with her years of experience with city development and planning. Tina oversees our economic development, building inspections, and planning departments and continues to help position Lakeville as a desired destination for development and growth. She is also a Sensible Land Use Coalition board member and was a featured speaker during several Minnesota Real Estate Journal summits in 2024. Please help me to welcome Tina Goodroad.
Thank you, everyone. Get situated here. Well, good afternoon. What a great looking crowd, a wonderful, beautiful venue. Super excited to be here today. This is really one of my favorite events of the year, to really be able to share all the wonderful things going on in the city. And I'm really pleased to share some spotlights that happened over the past year regarding economic development. Before I begin, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Katie Bachmeyer. She's back there. She is our Economic Development Manager. Her and I work very closely together on so many of these efforts, and she was pivotal in getting this presentation and this day organized. I do want to note that there are screens on both sides, right and left of the stage. You might have to tweak your head a little bit to see them, but the presentation will be located there. So just to get things started, City of Lakeville had another great year in 2024. We experienced a lot of development activity with valuation of permits of over $257 million. So we just edged out 2023, as you can see from the list of the comparisons of 2022 down to 2020. This year so far, we've issued building permits in the value of over $53.5 million. So we're going strong already in our first quarter. And one of the things that we love is welcoming new businesses. We love to see the investment in non-residential. So that would be everything that would be commercial industrial. And we had over $75.1 million invested into those two areas last year. And some of the major projects to highlight, the largest building permit value was $32 million. That was RL Cold Storage. So this is a unique building. It's right behind Sweet Harvest Foods. You've probably noticed it if you drive along Cedar. So it's east of Cedar, south of County Road 70. It's a big white building. And its use is just warehousing, but for cold storage. So a lot of our grocery stores, our Walmart retailers, Target retailers need this essential storage. So that building had a groundbreaking ceremony last May. It's under construction, anticipated to open this year. And it's 276,480 square feet. Some of the other permits to highlight from last year would include Post Foods Pilot Plant. They purchased a building in our older part of the industrial park and remodeled it. Post has been expanding their operations and had added different dog food businesses. And so they created a new test pilot kitchen specifically for dog food. They've also remodeled and updated their corporate headquarters this past year. Some of the other permits, Midwest ENT Specialists broke ground last fall on their building. This is located up on Buck Hill Road and County Road 46, and that had a building permit valuation of over $5.2 million. This year we're kicking off the year well. Metropolitan Airports Commission had a building permit valued at $590,000, and this is for upgrades to their existing maintenance facilities at Air Lake Airport. And residential continues to be strong. Lakeville is a very hot market, whether it's commercial or whether it's single family. or townhomes or apartments, we continue to be strong. We ranked number 2 last year, just behind Woodbury, in total building permit numbers. We finished the year with 285 single-family, 100 detached, 49 attached, and 89 multifamily units. And this is a cooperative project. It's the Astoria Lakeville that's on the Hosanna campus. This year, total residential valuation was $155.8 million. So that's 60% of that overall building permit valuation. Average building permit on a single family home is a little over $310,000, and our median home value is up to $451,150. So we keep edging up. Lakeville is back to number 1 as of our first quarter this year. We have 58 single family and 59 townhome permits issued so far. And this is one of my favorite slides that we update every year. It really shows, provides a nice reflection of all the new businesses that have chosen to make Lakeville their home. Whether it's a personal service business, one of our industrial park businesses, one of our office businesses, retail, or restaurants. They're all reflected here. And we are so excited to welcome all of these new businesses every year. We continued last year to see a lot of advancement and addition in medical office. Children's Medical's Minnesota Specialty Center expanded into a new tenant space. Alida Health and MNGI Digestive Health opened their new 3-story building last summer. Exuberance Chiropractic opened a new location and expanded their operations. And then that Midwest Ear, Nose, and Throat specialist held their groundbreaking last fall, and that building is currently under construction. And Children's Dental Care is also expanding. So it's not only new medical that's being provided here to serve our community and beyond, but also expansion of our existing medical. So we're really pleased to see that. We're also adding new dining options. This is something Katie and I in the chamber hear all the time. And we have an incredible amount of dining and beverage types of business all across the city. And if you need to know more information, check out the chamber's website. But we did welcome LBC at the Lake, at Antlers Park, new Donut Star, new Taco Bell, Kiev Cakes, which is a specialty bakery, and then Farmer's Grandson Eatery recently opened, and their speakeasy soft opening was held recently, and I think that is going to have a full opening at the end of this month, which will be an exciting addition to Lakeville. And then all of those businesses can be reflected here on this map to see where that activity is taking place across the city. Again, the red or purple or pink, however it shows up on that screen, is all of the active residential permits that have been issued. Whereas the green are also reflected in different types of residential, but those are final plats. So as we continue to review plans and approve plans, the council over the past year approved 731 new final plats. And that's very important. We need to continue having that churn of approved projects so that we have available lots for development. The yellow reflects all of the commercial development. This will be not only our new businesses that are building from ground up, or it could be reflection of remodels and additions. And then city permits. We've had a lot of activity at our fire stations as well as in our parks. And this year we are going to see some more new large projects. Lakeville 35 Logistics Center North Edition received final plat approval in February. And this is a new spec building. We haven't had a new spec building for a couple of years just due to the economy. But spec buildings are really important when you have different industries that are needing 30,000, 50,000 square feet of space or even less. We need to have this new spec development occur to be able to provide space for these businesses. This project is going to break ground probably this week. I think they're closing as we speak on the land. It's a 189,678 square foot space. It's just north of 215th Street and south of 210th Street. And then since July, the city has been engaged in discussions with Dakota Electric Association. They've been evaluating their space needs and have decided to really look towards expanding their facility and identified property in Lakeville for this expansion. And so since last summer, we've been working closely with Dakota Electric staff and their engineers on the various approvals that are needed for this expansion. And then, which not only deals with plating, but in the future, building permits. So just this past March, the City Council approved a preliminary plat for DEA addition, and this is going to include a new facility that's totaling 176,685 square feet, would occupy warehouse, storage, as well as office for their 200 employees. We will continue to work with them as they come to their final decision making on this project, but we are very, very excited to welcome them to Lakeville. And then another new retail project is Marketplace at Cedar. This is at the southeast corner of 179th and Cedar. Oppenheimer Investment received approvals this March for 9 commercial lots. Some of those do have letter of interest signed to them, so you can see some of the new business that will be coming, and then there's still some open space. But again, this is another great opportunity to expand retail opportunities across the city. And with all of that, employment continues to remain very strong in Lakeville. We employ 21,460 people as of third quarter 2024, and this is a 37% increase over the past decade. So all of you should be proud in terms of bringing your businesses and expanding your businesses here in Lakeville. And some of our top employers are listed on the slide, and this is employers with over 250 people. That includes Lakeville Public School District, Post Consumer Brands, Hy-Vee, Maker's Pride, which was formerly Hearthside Food Solutions, and City of Lakeville, just to name a few. Our employment remains low at 2.6% compared to the county at 3% and the state of Minnesota at 3.6%. So Katie and I get involved in a lot of special projects, and one of them was to update the strategic plan for economic development. We did this project last summer with our EDC, our Economic Development Commission. And this is a really important plan. It identifies several goals, strategies, actions, and success measures to guide our work for the next 4 years. The plan was adopted late last year by the City Council. And out of that, one of the first implementation projects that we've taken on is a brand new business retention and expansion program. We kicked this off in February. It is a partnership with Katie and I, along with chamber staff and economic development commissioners, and we visit businesses. So if you've not been contacted yet, you will be. Our goal is to visit all of our amazing businesses. We've selected the first Thursday of the month for this. We work in teams. We try to hit 4 businesses every month if we can. Again, we've just gotten started. But the goal is to strengthen relationships that we already have with you. And for new businesses that we haven't had that opportunity, we want to meet you, find out what your needs might be, what the city could maybe do to help you, or if there's outer forces and assistance that you need, bring those to you. So it's a great new program, and we're really excited to have kicked that off this year. We also completed our first full year of having implemented the residential rental registration program. The council adopted an ordinance in 2023 to require registration of all rental properties that are residential. So anywhere from single family all the way up to apartments. This is not the same thing as some cities do with licensing. It's just a database to understand where our rental properties are located and to have some basic information on ownership and management so that if there's an issue in the community, we have the ability to reach out to that person. This map shows the location of those. We update this. You can find this on our website. Currently, there are over 650 rental properties registered, and 61% of those are single-family homes. The registration process is free. It's very easy to do on the website. The only thing that we ask is that if the owner doesn't live in Minnesota, who is renting out that property, that we have a designated person who is in Minnesota tied to that property. And then cannabis licensing. We all know in 2023, the state legalized adult use cannabis in Minnesota. So a few things have happened over the past year regarding this. The state opened an Office of Cannabis Management. That office is responsible for licensing the businesses, but also creating the rules for how these businesses will operate across the state. It's been a fairly slow process. but it has sped up a little bit. And with that, each city needed to adopt our own requirements. And so the city did this last fall, not only within the zoning ordinance, but also in the city code as to how we want these businesses to operate. There are several different license types that are in the state statute. We've identified those license types and the various zoning districts that they'll be regulated within. And with that, we are required as the city to register the businesses that are retail. So there's 3 different license types that regulate the retail component, and a retail store is going to be limited to a distance of 500 feet from schools. So that is what the map demonstrates on this slide. We also, in the ordinance, regulate a limit of 6 retail businesses within the city limits. OCM did get approval for their rules just this week, and so I do anticipate getting some more requests and more information from businesses that are trying to locate in Lakeville, and some of those early licenses will be issued probably throughout this summer. One of the things we don't talk enough about is our amazing Air Lake Airport. The airport is conveniently located right in the industrial park, and it is an important asset to Lakeville. And this graphic really illustrates that point. Not only does the airport provide for recreational flights and flight training right on site, but aircraft storage, there's 106 hangars located there, and it's ideally located and suited for business aviation. The airport supports 104 jobs and saw 38,678 annual flight operations in 2024. Well, that caps off my part of the presentation, so I want to introduce Krista Jeck, our amazing chamber president.
It's now my turn to introduce the mayor. So Mayor Hellier has been on city council since 2016 and mayor since 2022. In his day jobs, are you talking about your day job? I don't know. Oh, so his day job, he has a new day job, the Director of Government Affairs at Starkey Hearing. And he and his wife Josie both grew up here and are now raising their kids here. Thank you very much for that. He is on our foundation board of directors as well. And something I learned about you now. Do you remember what you said your goal is for 5 to 10 years back in 2023?
Oh.
You don't? Well, it's in the internet, so it must be true.
Okay, yeah.
You said you want to be the Panapog Red Marshal.
Yeah, I do.
So we'll see. I mean, I might be able to help make that happen. We'll see what happens. But so, without further ado, I'm going to get this up for you. Okay, right? Actually, yeah? Good?
I think what I said was it's easier to become mayor than Grand Marshal of Panapog.
It is, yeah, it's a description.
Yeah. That's a selective group. Well, thank you, Krista, and thanks for everybody for being here today. A lot of friendly faces. I want to start with this, with a little bit of breaking news. This morning, I called Council Member Ethan Hellier in Prior Lake to let him know I signed an executive order for running tariffs on the city of Prior Lake. Frankly, they've been extremely unfair to the city of Lakeville, and it's time for them to come through. And Mayor Kostick in Credit River said he will set up a checkpoint at the Credit River Lakeville border, so they'll be paying tolls to get on 35W and those who live in Prior Lake. So we are working for you every day to make sure that we're treated fairly. Thank you. Just want to really thank Tina and Katie for putting this together. Police Chief Brad Paulson and Fire Chief Meyer and our engineer Zach Johnson, who basically put all the text in here. I'm just reading their words, but I want to thank them for doing that as well. So they work above and beyond. As you know, Antlers Park opened last summer, which was closed for an entire year, and it has been really a huge success for us. And I talked about this last year before it opened, how excited we were between the new shelters, the indoor pavilion, sand volleyball courts, and then one other unique feature, being one of the first beach areas in the region that's ADA accessible. So we have rubber mats that are there at all times. So if you have someone in a wheelchair, they can actually get all the way to the water on our beach. And so it's kind of a new feature that we're pretty proud of that other communities don't have. And as Tina mentioned, LBC on the Lake was a big hit. I think I talked to to Don. I think they're opening up in a couple of weeks, so that'll be, so looking forward to that. And then finally, the thing that just blows my mind is that we had 320 outdoor events last summer that had reservations through the Parks Department, and another 87 in the indoor facility. We had 2 weddings last year. So if you're thinking about a great place for an event, think about Antlers. If you weren't, had not attended before in the city, that's where we had last year. Grand Prairie Park construction is well underway. So this is at Cedar and 185th Street. Grand Prairie Park will be the city's largest community park when it's finished. Much of what's happening there will not happen until next year. We got to plant some things, but you'll see the lights of the new baseball park have gone up. A lot of the other infrastructure that has gone there. And this has really been a great effort from a lot of different community events, community groups. We've had several sponsors to support Lakeville Baseball Association, some of the added amenities to their baseball park. The Lions have been very generous in funding the splash pad that's there. So a lot of that will open up. We have to let the grass grow. But and as I mentioned before, we have pickleball courts. There's a cricket pitch, among other things. So that is well on its way. We're very excited for Grand Prairie Park. I will say one other thing, just baseball related, very quickly. So next Wednesday, North and South play each other in Target Field after the Twins game, if you didn't know that. So if you talk to Tricia from High Point, raise your hand. The tickets are $20, and you get to go to the Twins game. They play the Mets at noon, and then right after that game, the North and South get to play. And if you are thinking about sponsorships, they have different sponsor levels for businesses as well. So I'm sure that if you want to talk to her about if your business is interested in supporting it. So it's a very cool thing that supports the North and South boosters. Last year we also finished all the upgrades to the Foxborough Park, which brought in some new biking and walking trails, and then upgraded the playground equipment there as well. In addition, there's some replacements at the Kenmore Park, included swings, climbing element slide, and other elements. And then the Chadwick Farms Greenway, which added another 30,000 feet of trail. And if you remember back from 2021, this is part of that Parks Bond referendum. All these are kind of projects that were in that, in Grand Prairie Park, and then East Lake Park, or East Community Park at East Lake. We're just finishing up kind of the master plan for that. The Parks and Rec Natural Resources Committee is looking at it along with our staff. And the idea, I think, is to break ground next year, on those additions. So we look forward to that. Oh, you can see it's right there on the side. Construction for 2026. As I mentioned earlier, public safety has been a top priority for me since being on city council mayor, and has been for the rest of our city council. And one of the things that we actually just got to break ground for was the first center, which is the First Responder Skills Training Center, where we are demoing the former Public Works building and building a state-of-the-art training facility for police, fire, and other public safety officials. This is a project led by the city of Lakeville. We got some decent funding from the legislature a few years ago. Representative Whitty, Cossack, and Senator Duckworth helped secure some $7 million for us on that. Congressman Craig secured another $800,000 for the engineering and design of that project. But the total project is well over 18 or 19 million. And but at the end of the day, we see ourselves as a regional hub, Lakeville is, and so we'll have a lot of partners. We have over a dozen other agencies that have expressed interest in using this facility. I talked about this before, we've had some really good conversations with ACTC about potentially doing some of their field training there, or Hooper Hills, I should say. They're combined it into one, so I just call it ACTC. But really, because as those in law enforcement will say, crime knows no borders, and the more that we can work together among jurisdictions and training and all these things, that's really important. So we look forward to that opening up this next year. One of the things, just as an update, we are now up to 73 sworn officers in the city, and we're supported by another 20 staff members in support roles. And this obviously has grown over the last several years as our population continues to grow. Another cool project that the police department has kind of spearheaded is, last year we had one and this year we have two. We secured grant money to basically help people do career changes, to leave what they're doing to get into policing. As you can imagine, Hiring for law enforcement can be difficult. More often than not, when we swear new officers in the city of Lakeville, they came from somewhere else. They came from another department. And part of that is, again, if we're thinking regionally to be supportive, we have to, kind of groom some of our own. So we've got some state money. They get paid a salary to go through the certification and schooling. So again, I think we had one last year, two this year, and I think the plan is to continue to do that as long as we can make sure that grant keeps going. So very excited about that. Another big change for the police department, our K9 Kilo retired, and his handler, Sergeant Danielson, was promoted. So we've got a new pup that's going to be on the road soon, and that is Nora, and she has Officer Jolene Worden, and so they're going to be on the road soon, I would guess.
You just started training, so a couple.
Okay, so it's just training and it'll be out in a couple months. So we were thanks to Kilo for all of his years of service, and I think he's probably very happy on Tom's farm down outside of Austin. So he's doing very well in his retirement already. And then one of the other things that the department has really invested in is thinking more broadly about what policing means besides just responding to emergencies. And that is, investing in some of these kind of social support services. We have a liaison now that is a continued relationship with support with the county and 360 communities. Sorry, my dad's not leaving because he's mad. He drives school bus for Schmidt, so he's got his afternoon route. Don't worry, Mike, we'll be there on time. It's a great retirement job, by the way. If you look for something to do, being a bus driver, like my dad, he drives my kids' route, so he gets to pick them up early to school.
Like there was often.
And then if you think about, in addition to the police department, obviously the fire department is going through some pretty significant changes. For years, we were strictly a pay-on-call volunteer department, and the council decided a few years ago to rethink that and add some full-time staff in what we call a hybrid model. We hired a few firefighters a couple of years ago, I think 6. We were actually given money through FEMA to hire some more, so we will end up having up to 21 full-time firefighters. But as you can imagine, with that kind of growth and change, it's going to require us to make some pretty big capital investments. That's why we talked about franchise fees last year, about building a new fire station. And that is when you go from a situation where you have all volunteers to people that are going to be sleeping and needing living quarters, you get to that point. So we're hopefully that in the next few months we'll have kind of a location cited where we're thinking about for that new fire station, and we'll kind of go through that process. But the goal, I think, is to get the ball rolling in this year so that we can open it up again next year. As I mentioned, that way we'll have 2 engines staffed 24/7 with full-time firefighters supported by probably another 50 or so volunteers. So the volunteer component is not going away. So if you're ever thinking about serving in the city, forget about being a volunteer firefighter. So they will work together alongside each other, which is really going to be a great model for us. Obviously, transportation improvements and changes are a big deal to all of you in the room, for businesses, and just for us to be able to get to work and get home. The 35 and 50 changes, we've kind of come up with a pretty decent schematic of what we think it'll look like. Now we just got to find the money. So we have been continuing to work with our state and county and federal partners to think through that. There has been substantial investment from all those levels, but we don't have the kind of the final pieces to make all that happen. And we actually, there's a hearing tomorrow in the House Bonding Committee about further investment from the state. But as you can imagine, you think about the area in front of Fleet Farm, what kind of disaster that is every day. And then you think about County Road 50 that runs underneath 35 and all the backups and problems there. So ultimately, we think this is a pretty good change. I will tell you, the 2-year project of closing one leg at a time on 35 is going to be awful. So think about those telework things for your companies, because it's going to be really terrible going through that corridor once it starts. But there are plenty of updates online through the city's website, so you can kind of keep in touch with that. Ideally, we'd really like to focus on starting something in 28, 29. We'll see kind of how that works. But again, this is a project that is sorely needed for the entire region. Another big project that you'll start to see is the 185th Street expansion. Again, this is a partnership with the county You know, if you think about 185th, once you get to 50 at that roundabout, you got a pretty narrow road until you get to Century, and then it kind of opens up again. So that corridor there will be widened to 4 lanes to be able to really handle a lot of the capacity that we're seeing and all the growth that we've had. It's just funny to think about. When I was in high school, that was a 4-way stop, and then it was a stoplight, and then it was a roundabout. So there's been a ton of change and growth in that area. So that project will start very soon. I think some of the infrastructure utilities are starting, but you'll see some of the road stuff happen there very soon as well. And I think that there's also some Safe Route to School funds, which is good, so it'll make it easier for kids to get over to Century, and those who are walking as well. So April to October. Last couple of things. So obviously the city every year we have legislative priorities that are a keen focus for us at the Capitol. One of those that we talked to our legislators about this year is downtown social districts. So if you haven't followed, there's Anoka and Shakopee are allowed to have basically open containers, is the easiest way to describe it, in their downtown areas. They were done as kind of a pilot. And so we had kicked around the idea from our council to have that same ability on certain kind of days of the year to have that similar thing. But unfortunately, it's run into some local politics. The rep from Shakopee likes his monopoly of being the only city in the region to allow it. So we're getting caught up in that, unfortunately, but we'll try again next year. So we'll see kind of how that goes. Obviously, I've talked about this at each one of my State of the City addresses, but mandates on local authority and our local control are always something that we think about. And I'll just highlight one that has been on my radar, and that has to do with zoning and housing and how we're able to grow. If you don't know, last month we had a pretty exciting work session when we had some conversations about the property along Antlers Park in Warwick, which is there was conversation about a 4-story apartment. I think the neighbors weren't super happy about it. I don't think that's going to really happen right now, but it was very exciting. The legislature, the bill that they've drafted would, without public input, without the city input, would allow a 7-story apartment building on that property. So when I say that this local stuff matters, and you find us pushing back on 4 stories, you can imagine what would happen if they said, yeah, you could put 7-story apartment building right there in between Lakeville North and Antlers Park. And then lastly, we continue to beat the drum on the post office. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, I think everybody in this room is pretty frustrated. I'm frustrated. At some point, Congresswoman Craig and I were talking about staging a walkout from the people who work there just because it's such an awful condition. They don't even have a loading dock. I mean, think about when that post office opened to how packages come through Amazon today. They can't even do their jobs effectively, let alone do that. And for those of you who have P.O. boxes downtown, they also basically just thumbed us off because you're now going to charge you for your P.O. box if you didn't know that. So if you had a P.O. box downtown, if you're a downtown business, the post office decided to take that away. So you either have to pay for it now, or apparently they didn't do any calculation that they'd have to do delivery. So if you don't pay for your P.O. box, then they have to bring it to your house, but then they don't have anybody to drive it to your house. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. But I continue to be frustrated by the post office. I'm sure you are as well. I wish I had some answers for you in that. We really don't. The Postmaster General at the federal level resigned last week. So hopefully that is an opportunity to potentially do that. But at the end of the day, it's really the regional managers that are paying the ask. I mean, the guy in Washington doesn't know. So I say we continue to work on that, and I appreciate any feedback that you guys have about those situations. But I wanted to be brief so we can get out of here in time, but happy to open up for any questions. If I don't have the answer, we got plenty of city staff here that could do that as well. But
do you have an email or a phone number we could just throw out?
Yes, you can. So thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
So my email and cell phone number on the city's website. And then I also have a little...
I want the post.
Oh, the post? Oh, I'll get that.
I want that to go.
Yes. Okay, yes. I will get that for you.
Especially downtown Boston.
Yes, thank you. So the other thing on your tables, I have a little flyer. I have a newsletter that comes out every Friday, just kind of updating things that are happening in the city. Feel free to sign up for it. And then I also if you have a community event, for instance, I like to feature those. I can't find everyone. I try to find a lot, but I miss a lot, so I apologize if I haven't put your event in there. In fact, I just got an email There's an Easter egg hunt at Lakeville South on Saturday, so that'll probably be the top, most exciting thing in the newsletter this week. So I'm telling you before the newsletter comes
See,
out.
as this.
The question was, any updates on the UCA United Christian Academy project? Not that I know. There's been some conversation about them partnering with a local church to rethink about it. I do know that the last conversation was thinking more about just high school and not K-12. They've had a lot of success at their school building in Bloomington with the younger grades. Then their big missing piece is having like the right high school. So I think it's a refocus on the high school and not necessarily K-12. So that's the best news I got for it. Bob?
I just wanted to thank the mayor, city council, city administrator, staff, and their extraordinary contributions. So you shall, and come know some of those green sentiments. I also would ask again, as the city council, give a bit more consideration of the building, the new post office, the leasing of that within U.S. stimulus.
Yeah, we have had conversations about what that would look like. In fact, at one point, the mayor of Farmington and I had a conversation about what a joint post office would look like. We wrote a letter with Congressman Craig to the Postmaster General. They said thanks, but no thanks. They are, other than the railroads, they are one of the most difficult entities to deal with because they're quasi-federal, so they have some congressional oversight, but not really. So no, I'm sorry, I don't have a great answer for it. We tried. We just had one hit there. Yeah. All right, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.